before I introduce my guest, I want to tell y'all a little bit about her. Her name is Molly O'Quinn. She has a bachelor's degree in biology, whoop, whoop, for biology people. She has an MBA from the University of Phoenix. She spent 9 years in the Air Force fixing fighter jets. How much more STEMmy can that be? She also worked in a hospital. She is a baker, but the funnest job, and she said this was her favorite job, was as a blackjack dealer on a riverboat. Now, I don't know how she got that gig, but I'm going to ask her how she got it. But without any, the reason she's here, she is a alchemist. She makes soaps and moisturizers here on the island, and I'm going to tell y'all, her products are the bomb. I mean, I love them. Being on an island where everything is very moist, I mean, this just seeps into your skin and just makes your skin just feel delightful. So without any further ado, I would like Molly, please say hello and introduce yourself to our wonderful guest today.
Hello, Mary, and hello to all the guests. I'm Molly. I make soap, currently on the Big Island of Hawaii. I love what I do, and I'm so happy to be on this radio show to talk to people. This is going to be great.
Hey, before we start talking about your soaps, I want to hear about your experience a little bit as a fixing Air Force fighter jets.
Well, it was a long time ago, but I took that ASVAB test and I scored really well on it, so I could go on just about anything. And so I went in what was called open electronics. So I didn't have a specific job, but I could go into an electronic field. So I got to wherever, basic training or someplace, and you get to kind of pick your jobs. They give you like 9 choices. And in my mind, I'm like, well, I'm in the Air Force, so I think I should fix airplanes. That makes sense. So I got a job fixing the avionics systems on F-16s, which was pretty much just changing out computer parts and troubleshooting wires and reading wiring diagrams. Looking back, I should have learned heating and air conditioning because that would have been a lot better when I got out of the Air Force. But that's what I did in the Air Force.
And you know what? We really don't think, when we go in the service, we really don't think, oh, what can I do with this when I get out? We're just happy to be in there and be traveling and all that good stuff. Where had you been stationed?
Oh, man, I lucked out. I got into the military at a really good time. So my first base, after basic training and all my tech school, was in Korea. So I was in Korea for a year. And then from there, I went to Las Vegas. And then from Las Vegas, I went to Germany. And then from Germany, I went to Florida and then Georgia. And then I got out. And then, of course, when I was in Korea, we got to go to the Philippines and, some exercises there. And then I was in Germany. We went to Spain and Turkey and then United Arab Emirates for Desert Storm. So, yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. What base is in Las Vegas? That's what I was trying to figure. But
now
it probably was one that got hit by BRAC. But wow.
It converted over to something else. It became it started being like a joint base or something. Mm-hmm. Nellis Air Force Base.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. That is there.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. That must have, I'm listening everywhere you went. You had some of the choice locations.
I did.
So you were spoiled.
I was. I have to admit, when the first base was in Korea. So they talk about, when you first join the military and you're lower ranking and you have to do all this crazy stuff, cleaning stuff and kitchen duty and whatever, but that didn't happen in Korea. I didn't have to clean my own room or shine my own boots. It was kind of almost embarrassing.
Yep, you get a little spoiled over there, but that's okay. That's okay. It gave you a good impression. It gave you a good impression. So,
Yeah,
you know, 'cause
definitely.
some people come out with a weird impression about being in the military. Oop, I just want to go. I have worked too hard. But anyway, um, okay. Tell me about this blackjack dealer on a riverboat.
Well, after I got out of the military, I did not continue fixing jets, so I had to find some kind of work. And first, before the blackjack dealer, I worked for Roto-Rooter as a plumber, and that lasted for a couple months. I'm like, I am not a plumber. So then I became a dispatcher, and that was fine. But I'm like, this is not really working for me. So I was living in Chicago at the time, and riverboats were coming to Gary, Indiana, because I don't know, that's what they were doing. So they were bringing 2 riverboats there. There were no casino dealers in the area because there were no casinos before that. So they actually, they advertised probably in the newspaper. I don't think the internet was out yet. I don't know. Maybe it was, but pretty sure I saw the ad in the newspaper. And you basically just went to school. It was free. They didn't charge anything. So you went to school and you learned how to deal blackjack and a few other games. And then the riverboats finally opened. And because of something happening with Canada and the international waters, because it was on one of the Great Lakes, you couldn't actually leave the dock. So it was a riverboat that never actually went anywhere. It was tied to the dock the whole entire time. But yeah, I love dealing blackjack. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, sounds like some of the boats that were down in Mississippi, Gulfport, Mississippi. Those boats didn't move either. So hey, I used to go down there to the buffet. I never gambled because I was afraid of losing my money. But short story, I was the only commander in southern Mississippi, and I get a call in the middle of the night. One of the Air Force recruiters had hit the big prize on a slot machine at one of the casinos down there, and the poor man had a heart attack.
Oh my goodness.
And since I was the only senior officer in the immediate area, I had to go and handle it. And I'm like, you win money. I mean, he lived, he's fine, but he had a heart attack. I'm like, see, that's why I don't gamble.
Right, yeah. No one thinks about what happens when you win, right?
No. But anyway, hey, tell me, how did you get into alchemy, making soaps and moisturizers and stuff?
It's one of those odd stories. So me and my partner were talking about moving to Hawaii. This was probably about 8 years ago. And she's like, what are you going to do when you get there? Make money. And I'm like, So I thought about a minute. And I said, I'm going to make soap. And she looked at me and she's like, have you ever made soap before? And I'm like, no, I've never made soap before. She's like, okay, we'll see how this goes. So I got a book on how to make soap. And then I got the supplies, ordered them online off Amazon, and started making soap. And, at first, when you first start making soap, I didn't know what I was doing. So I just followed the book, and it didn't work right, and I thought it was me. It turns out the lye wasn't good, but I didn't know it at the time. So I just kind of played around for a while and found out I kind of liked it. And then I was making it, and this was in Portland at the time, and I spent about 2 years, year and a half, making soap in Portland. Not seriously. I finally sold some at a holiday fair or something. Got to Hawaii, brought soap with me. And the soap that I brought with me almost melted when I got here. So I was kind of almost devastated to realize that the recipe I had made in Portland was not going to work in Hawaii due to all the moisture in the air.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I was wondering, why did it almost melt? And then, it's a lot of humidity here.
Yeah, there's a lot. So I had to do a whole new recipe with new oils. And then, once I figured that out, I also figured out how expensive shipping was in Hawaii. So that kind of slowed me down. And then when I moved here, everyone was like, have you heard of, Company X that everyone here has heard of, And everyone, have you heard of this company? Have you heard of this company? And I'm like, there's no way I can compete against a company that everybody knows of. Like, everybody on the island has, like, have you heard of this company? And the other thing was, everybody makes soap. That's what everyone says. Everyone makes soap. So I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna really do that here. So I mean, I continue making soap for myself, but I'm like, I'm not gonna have a business because I didn't see myself competing with a big company. But then, time went on and, shipping costs came down a little bit. More people started selling ingredients that I needed. And I never stopped making soap. I just didn't get real serious. And actually, I became a baker. That's what I became, was a baker. But in my mind, finally, one day I'm just like, you know what? I make good soap. I enjoy what I'm doing. And just because there are other people and other big companies here making soap, my soap is just as good. So I got back into it, and I took it real serious. And now, I mean, I love what I do, and I make a good product. So it's
you do.
That I decided to make soap, but now that I do it, I really enjoy it.
I mean, your product is good because I was telling you the other day, a lot of several soaps I've bought that were not from the store, and it wasn't like something that I normally buy, have made me itch. And your soap, I mean, it's good. I like it. I really like it. Because I bought several bars just to try, and now I'm mad because I didn't buy that peppermint soap when I was up there Saturday. I was trying to get my volcano brittle.
I don't blame you. That's some good candy. I don't blame you at all.
But let's go back to talking about your soaps a little bit, because I want to also talk about the bakery, because I've seen some of your pictures, and I want to know what you bake. But when you had to adjust your formula here, how much work did that take? How did you figure out what you had to do?
So, first I kind of just read online. There's a lot of forums out there. So I was reading about what people did when they were making soap in high humidity areas. And so what I learned was I needed to use oils that were harder oils. So in my original recipe, I didn't use cocoa butter. So I got cocoa butter. First I got palm oil, but I don't like working with palm oil. So I got palm kernel flakes. So I basically got a lot harder oils to start with. So cocoa butter, shea butter, palm kernel oil flakes are all hard. They're solid at room temperature. And coconut oil, depending on how warm it is, can be solid. So those are all pretty much solid oils that I use in my recipe, along with olive oil and castor oil. It took me I use what's called soap calculator to determine, so each oil, how much lye you use is dependent on what type of oil that you're using. So each oil has its own value of lye that you have to use. So there's different calculators online that will tell you how much lye you have to use for the oils that you're using. So I went to the soap calculator, and I put in the oils that I wanted to use, and I started playing with the percentage of oils to get the right lye amount, and also to get the right characteristics of the soap that I want. So I want a soap that lathers well, that cleans, but is also conditioning or moisturizing. So those are all important to me. Because if you use pure Castile soap, which is pure olive oil soap, it doesn't lather. So that was the first natural soap I ever used. I'm like, I'm not using this stuff. There's no lather in it. And so lather is important to me, but also, having soft skin is important. So I made soap that had the features that I wanted in it. If you like Castile soap and you don't care about lather, then there's nothing wrong with that, but that didn't work for me. So soap calculator has values. It gives you values for moisturizing and how cleansing it is and how many bubbles you're going to get. It gives you values for that. So I look at those values and I say, okay, this is going to be a hard barb soap that lathers well and, is good on my skin. So I looked at those numbers and did the recipe, and it worked. And I haven't changed it in 5-6 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when we talk about your soaps, What are some of your fragrances that you have in your line?
So the fragrances that I will always have on my line are mint, lavender, lemongrass, and then a cinnamon clove. And the reason I will always have those fragrances is because I only use essential oils in those, and some people only want soap with essential oils in it. Now, living in Hawaii, I also make soap that has tropical floral fragrances. So I'll make plumeria, I'll make gardenia, tuberose, things like that, freesia, because people want that tropical flower smell here. But that's with the fragrance oil. So fragrance oils are synthetic oils made in labs. When I first started making soap, I was against it. I'm like, I don't want to use fake things in my soap. But then it's like people really want plumeria and they really want cucumber melon. And the more I studied it, I'm like, as long as I am careful about how much I put in, it's relative. It's safe. I have not had any problems with people breaking out or being irritated. If people are sensitive to synthetic fragrances, they know that and they tell me. So I always have options for them. So I will always have those four: the mint, the lemongrass, the lavender, and the cinnamon clove. But I carry, I blend stuff at people's requests. So I always have other things too. Like I have the cucumber melon, I have the plumeria, I have an orange blend. It's like orange. One was orange tea tree because someone requested it. Another one was orange lemongrass lime. It's just whatever people ask for.
Okay.
I have chocolate mint right now.
Yeah. Chocolate mint. Now, see, I'll be sitting there trying to eat that. That sounds good.
Oh man, if you saw the picture on my website, you'd be like, "Oh yeah, that looks good enough to eat." It's like on a plate. Yeah.
I think I saw some. I don't know if it was a chocolate mint when I was up there. You had some soaps that were not the regular molds. They were like in the center of your table, and one of them was kind of a dark brown. Was that the chocolate mint?
Yeah, it was.
Okay. We were gossiping, and I didn't pick it up and smell it. And, I smell all that stuff.
Yeah.
But before we go any further, if someone wanted to contact you, what's your website or Facebook page? How would someone find you?
My website is yawninglionsoap.com. I'm on Facebook with Yawning Lion Soap, and I'm on Instagram, Yawning Lion Soap.
Okay.
And really the best way right now to reach me is through Facebook. I mean, I'm just kind of new to Instagram, so I keep missing messages. but I'm pretty good on Facebook. I'm trying, but it's a learning curve for me.
Oh, I've been on Instagram for a couple of years now, and trust me, I still mess up because I just have me. And when I get back, my nephew has asked if he could come and intern with me because he needs to get some community service hours. And I was like, yes, I need you. So I'm going to get him some community service hours. But
that'd be good.
Yeah. I mean, he's a smart kid, very, very smart and athletic. So I'm excited about using London. But anyway, so you can be found in all areas by the name of Yawning Lion Soap.
Yes, that's correct.
So what is your...
I got that name is I'm a Leo and I'm a little bit lazy. So that's the truth of that.
Okay, so you talking to two Leos, so we messed up. I don't know. Should I say yawning all about still? No. You cannot be lazy because I looked at your work history and the fact that you you seem like you stay really, really busy with
Well, yeah, I do.
baking. With baking and your soap making. But I'm gonna deviate a little bit from the soap, but I'm gonna come back to it because I've got some more questions. You say you are a commercial baker, or you have been a commercial baker.
Yeah, that's true.
So are you still baking here on the island?
No, I wasn't a baker before I came to the island, but since I didn't sell soap at first and I couldn't find a job, there was a company on the other side, on Kona side, that was hiring, and they would train somebody. And I always kind of wanted to learn how to bake. So I went and I got that job. I drove 2 hours one way to work. So I spent 4 hours a day traveling to and from work, and I loved that job. I learned how to bake. We specialize in sourdough bread, so I learned how to bake sourdough bread. But other types of breads too. So I can do brioche. I can do French bread, Italian bread, Hawaiian sweet rolls. We bake like all. Alaska Airlines at the time was sending out Hawaiian sweet rolls with their first class passengers. So we baked all their Hawaiian sweet rolls. We baked the taro buns that were done at the Booch. At the Booch, what's it called? The Booch Kitchen? I can't remember the name. Down in Hilo, the Booch Cafe, Kombucha Cafe. We baked for them. We baked for Vibe Cafe. So we baked for places all over the island, along with the restaurants that we had. So yeah, and of course I learned how to do desserts, but I'm not a pastry. I didn't learn pastry. Mostly just breads and scones and cookies. Yeah.
Hey, all of that's good.
Yeah.
So what is your favorite thing to bake?
I really like baking focaccia because it's pretty forgiving, and you have to touch it a lot, so that's a lot of fun. I mean, it's really kind of hard to screw that up. And then last Christmas, I baked brioche with my soon-to-be daughter-in-law. So, and it turned out beautiful. We had a blast. So, I enjoy brioche too, just because it tastes so good.
Well, hey, bread is delicious anyway. It's not as forgiving on your body as we want it to be, but
no,
hey.
That's why I'm kind of glad I don't work in a bakery anymore. I lost about 50 pounds after I stopped that job.
But hey, and you know what? I find so many things on this island to just be so different and taste so good. Once you find something you like, I'm constantly, I'm constantly coming up to Hilo Coffee Mill and getting stuff to mail home because I'm not only addicted, I've gotten my family addicted, so I don't know what they're going to do when I leave. But
I guess we'll have to keep in touch.
we're going to have to be okay. Yeah. And that's one thing I've loved about the island is the fact that there's so much here. There's so many artisans, people here, so many makers here, from people with wonderful gardens to people who make candy to people who make jewelry to like you, people who make soap. This is such a home and family feeling type place. It kind of reminds me of the country, but I live in Hilo, which is kind of like living in town. But,
right.
Now,
it's not really.
It's what?
It's not really. It's sort of like living in town, but not really.
If you're in Texas, being in Hilo is like living in Waco, Texas. But yeah, it's that small town feel.
Right.
Now
exactly,
I want to go back. Now you're up in Volcano, right?
Yeah, Mountain View.
Mountain View. See, I love that area up there because at night it's so nice and so cool, and the air is it's quiet. I like
Yeah.
Hilo, but Hilo is not quiet. It's loud. Hilo is loud, but it's girl, it's loud.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
But it's where I live. But going back to your soaps, your products. What is your favorite soap that you like? What fragrance is one of your favorites? You probably have many.
You know, at first, the cinnamon clove I really enjoyed, but this holiday season, I guess, if you want to call it, I rolled out a fragrance. I call it Fall Evening, and I usually don't recommend a fragrance to people because, I like a lot of my fragrances, and people like what they like. But when they ask me, like, what are your recommendations, I'm like, Fall Evening. Like you, I love that. I love that scent now. It's sage, eucalyptus, orange, and sandalwood. And when I list what it is, you really have to smell it, and it's amazing to me. So it's my new favorite right now.
Ooh, that sounds delicious.
It really is. Like, that's the only one I use in my shower right now. I'm like, yeah, I don't need any other soap right now.
Hey, because we are a STEM show here, I want to ask you a few questions about the making of soap. If you were to, let's say, talk to a group of young people who were looking at going through the process of creating a soap or making soap, how would you guide them? What would you tell them? What would be, what is kind of like a process? Now, don't give away any of your trade secrets, but what is kind of like the process that, you're going to have to go through as you look at doing something like this?
Well, one of the, some really important things is they need good safety equipment. You need good gloves, eye protection, an apron. You're supposed to wear long sleeve shirts and pants and closed toe shoes, all that safety stuff, which, you really need to do that. I don't take pictures of myself when I'm making soaps. A lot of times I'm sometimes not doing that, but that's really important to do because lye is very dangerous. You talked about, the pH scale, and you have battery acid on one end and you have lye on the other. So, it's pretty serious. So you want to have your safety equipment. The next thing that they really want to do is they want to have an accurate scale because measurements are fundamental. You have got to measure things accurately when you're making soap. There's just no way around that because if you screw up, you're going to end up, making soap that's unusable, that will burn someone, or the other end of it, you'll end up with soap that just won't get hard. So you really want to have safety equipment. You want to have an accurate scale. Then after you have those things, you want to, have a recipe, whatever the recipe is. There's plenty of good ones out there. And then just follow it. It's like sort of like you would do in any science class. You would measure out all your oils and have those in front of you. You would measure out, your lye and your water. So in making this type of soap, there's what's called cold process and hot process. So hot process is you basically cook the soap while you're making it, and I don't do that. So I can't talk about it too much. That is one way to do it. The other process is called cold process soap making. Back to the hot process, when you cook the soap is ready as soon as you're done making it. So with the same day, your soap is ready. Cold process, you mix everything up. You let it sit overnight. You unmold it. You slice it or whatever if it has to be cut. And then you let it sit for about a month. And then after a month, it's then ready. So it's a longer process, but I don't know. It seems like most big soap companies use cold process. I don't know who uses hot process. Anyway, So yeah, you want safety equipment. You want an accurate scale. Then you want to measure all your stuff out. You're gonna mix your oils together. If you have hard oils, what people generally, if you read a book, they'll tell you to melt all your hard oils. You mix all your oils together. Then you let it cool down to a certain temperature. At the same time, or right after then, or whatever, you then mix your lye into your water. Always lye into the water, not water into lye. And that's going to heat up. I mean, that's a hot thing right there. So that gets up, I don't know, 200-some degrees. I don't know. It gets super hot. And then you will let that cool down to about 110 degrees. And then you would then pour your lye water mixture into your oils. You'd mix it all up till it gets to be like sort of like a thick gravy or a thin pudding. And then you pour it into your mold, and then you let it sit there. The one thing that's different about me, which is not a trade secret, it's just this is the lazy part, okay? So I don't heat my oils up. I'm like, why am I going to heat my oils up and let them cool back down? So I just, make my lye water mixture, and I pour that right into my solid oils, and then let the lye mixture melt my oils. And then after all the oils are melted, then I pour in like my olive oil and castor oil, and then I'm not heating things up and cooling them down. I'm not personally doing that. So that's called the room temperature method, and you won't see too much written about that. There's a couple places you'll see it, but you don't really. Most books don't mention it. I'm getting ready to write a book on my method, but it's not my method, but the method that I use. So yeah, that's just, the basic thing is safety gear, an accurate scale, and follow the recipe.
Okay.
And
now,
But say for people who are really afraid of lye, because I mean, it can be dangerous. I tell people if you deal with hot, if you fry chicken or you boil water, I mean, it's pretty much the same thing. I mean, it's if you're not afraid to fry some chicken, then you're probably okay using lye. You have to be that careful, but it's not incredibly dangerous if you're careful.
Now, what would happen? And I don't know if I missed this in listening. What would happen if you poured the water into the lye as opposed to the other way around?
So if you pour the water into the lye, I mean, that reaction takes place pretty fast, and there's a good chance that it could splash out, right? And so now you have all this hot lye water splashing out at you, and you don't want that. You just don't want that. It's almost, I mean, you wouldn't pour, just think of like if you were to pour, water onto oil, hot oil in a frying pan. That stuff is going to sizzle right out at you. I mean, you're not going to do the opposite way either, but I'm just saying it's the same kind of reaction. You pour that water onto that lye, because lye comes like, it's like a powdered pellet form, and you pour it in there, and it reacts immediately. And so you could have it splash on you and burn you. Yeah.
It's kind of like in science, we tell kids don't pour water into acid. You do it the other way around. So
the exact same thing. Lye is just the opposite end of that.
Hey.
Yeah. Exact same reason, exact same process.
Yeah, I was listening and I'm like, that's kind of like what we teach kids to do in the lab, because it causes an immediate reaction. That's why I was asking those questions.
Yeah.
Because but yet and still, every year I would have a kid that in chemistry that did it the wrong way. But thank goodness, my molarities on my acids were always real low because I didn't trust them. But hey, coming from a teacher that had set 3 schools on fire accidentally, and the fire truck only had to come once, I'm good.
Right. But, like you're proud of that. You're proud of that, though, right?
I'm proud of it because my kids had fun, and so did I. I need to stop.
Now they have these stories that last a lifetime.
Oh yeah. We all do. But again, before we go any further, please tell people, Molly, how to get a hold of you, where to find you. Y'all, we are talking to Molly O'Quinn. She is a alchemist here on the Big Island of Hawaii. She makes soaps and moisturizers, and we haven't talked about the moisturizers yet. And y'all, they are fabulous. Like I said, I've used a lot of individual made soaps, and they have made me itch. Hers don't. And being here on the island, I just like the product. So, but anyway, Molly, tell the listeners, how to get a hold of you again.
Now, they can find me online. I have a website, yawningLionSoap.com.
Mm-hmm.
They can find me on Facebook, Yawning Lion Soap, and they can find me on Instagram, Yawning Lion Soap. I'm trying TikTok, but I'm not really gonna put that out there too much because I can't even work out Instagram right now. So we'll go with those three things. I think they can email me at Molly@Yawning Lion Soap, and yeah, that seems to be how that works.
Okay. Now, before I go into the moisturizers, something that you mentioned the other day when we were talking. If someone wants you to formulate a soap for them, what do they have? What do they tell you? Do they send you a list? How do you communicate with them?
Well, so far,
since you ship everywhere.
Yeah, well, I ship in the U.S. I don't ship internationally.
Okay.
But yeah, I ship anywhere in the U.S. And I generally ship it via priority, so a flat rate usually. Anyway, so they contact me. Usually it seems to be on Facebook, or they could, email me. So some people know so once a month, in the beginning of the month, usually I ask people, does anyone have any scents they want me to try and make this month? And so in October or November, people had a whole bunch. One person was like, I want the chocolate mint, and someone else says, I want a lime. So when I post on Facebook, what do people want? Then that just gives me ideas, and I make a few of those. But other people contact me because they might be having an event. Tracy McGee, who lives in St. Louis, has an organization, and she has a group for young women, young girls, for empowerment and things. Mm-hmm. And she had a movement called I Define Me. That was like the conference they were having for these young ladies. So she's like, I like a scent, a custom scent for this. I'm like, okay, well, what do you have in mind? She's like, well, I want it to be kind of pure and, but uplifting and empowering. And these are for, young girls, say between, 10 and 14. Mm. So that's what she had. That's for young girls. I want it to be kind of pure and empowering and uplifting. I'm like, okay. So with that, I'm like, okay, something, pretty much essential oils, something kind of bright because, these are young girls striving for, greater things in their lives. Mm-hmm. And I made a scent, and it was really one of my favorite scents for a long time. I called it at the time I Define Me, and I put the her logo on it, and I shipped it out for her event, and it was great. I have someone else in California who has like spa retreats, and so she they want something relaxing and enlightening type thing. So I'm like, okay, well, what can I do for that? So for that, it's going to be older women who want to relax, that pamper themselves. Something, okay, sandalwood. I'm thinking more sensual smells. Something. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I kind of look at what people want, what they're describing that they want, and then how do I bring that to them in a scent? And that to me is like really where the magic comes in making the soap. And some people just say, I want orange tea tree, and so okay, I make that, but I find a portion that smells good, right? Because that may not smell good. Mm-hmm. So I got to find one that smells good. So that's how I do it. They can ask me for something specific. I want this scent, and I'll do it. Or they can describe the feeling they're trying to get with that scent, and then I bring that scent to life. So that's how they do it. Usually we start on Facebook or email. Okay. Yeah. I don't like changing my.
So my thing.
Recipe.
Mm-hmm.
Some people have asked me to do that. They want, can you make your soap like this? And I've done it, and I realized I don't like doing that. So I for the most part, won't change my base recipe. but I will give people whatever scent they want.
I like your base recipe, so you already know that. So no, don't be changing that because being here in Hawaii with the moisture content and the salt content in the air, and I live 3 blocks from the beach. I mean, I can't use everything, and I found using your soaps was nice. So nope, don't change that.
No, no.
And you know what? And I'm enjoying your story about working with the various communities, the various organizations, making something specific for them, because a lot of them are always looking for things to promote their cause, things to make people, kind of aware of something that is special for them. And, and I never would have thought about that, making a specific fragrance for a specific organization. That is like, one of the outstanding things that I've heard to date. Because most people will say, well, I do this and I do that. And they don't, they don't necessarily really talk about how they support the community and how they, help the community to promote themselves.
Yeah, I sometimes feel like people don't believe it's so easy to ask me for something like that, because when they ask me, I'm like, sure, I'll do it. But I don't actually get too many requests for that, so it's interesting to me.
So we're putting that into the air. If you have an organization and you want to have a soap fragrance that is specific to that organization, contact Molly on Facebook, Instagram, MySpace. No, not MySpace.
My website.
At her website at Yawning Lion Soap. I'm just teasing y'all about MySpace. But yeah, and you know what? This would be something nice for like a family reunion. I'm just thinking. But, so, I mean, that just sounds amazing. Now, do you do this by yourself, or do you have a team of people that work with you?
No, it's just me. I have someone who helps with my marketing, but yeah, it's just me making soap, packaging soap, trying to do Facebook, trying to do Instagram, taking the pictures.
Great pictures, mind you. That sounds like me, with the show. No, I can't say that because I have great producers in Arlington, a great platform with Fishbowl. So, yeah. But I have to find the wonderful guests and give them time. David just said, okay, you have 5 minutes. Think about him. Okay. This is like, you're like talking to family, okay? You are so much like talking to someone in my family. But we have 5 minutes left, and we've gone over how to get a hold of you. And you said you're getting ready to write a book, but this is your time. Kind of tell our listeners, something that you feel that's important, especially about being a entrepreneur, especially on an island like Hawaii.
I think what I've learned so far is just doing what you enjoy doing, and to keep doing it no matter like what is happening around you, right? Because it's like saying, like I said, when I first got here, I heard everyone make soap, and then I didn't keep making soap. At least I didn't put it out there, and I'm just thinking, God, if I've been making soap and putting it out there for the past 5 years, where might I be now, So as an entrepreneur and a person who is making stuff and doing stuff, doesn't really matter what everyone around you is doing. Just do your own thing, because, I mean, there's plenty for everyone, right? I mean, not everyone is going to want my soap. They might want someone else's soap, and vice versa, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, like I'm thinking, like, everybody bakes, right? I mean, a lot more people bake than make soap, or
Yeah.
like just in the general population. But bakeries still exist, and there's like bakeries, more than one bakery in town. And so I'm like, yeah, just don't. If there's something you want to do, do it, and then just keep doing it. I mean, I look at the soap that I made 7-8 years ago to the soap I make now, and it's like night and day. But had I not started 7 or 8 years ago, then I wouldn't be where I am right now. So just don't let what's happening around you intimidate you. Just keep doing it, because there's going to be someone who wants what you have, what you're doing, who believes in you, and they're going to come to you versus someone else, even if you're both doing the same thing. And that's what I know. That's what I know.
And, I like the fact of your customizing for people, because you can't go to Bath and Body Works and say, can you customize a fragrance for me? So that's not going to happen. You buy you get what you get, and you can't fit your fit.
For my moisturizers, like, they can actually customize that too. And I put it out there, like on Facebook. I'm like, does anyone want a custom fragrance? And no one really got back to me, but I had some customers email me and say, hey, can you make, this one woman asked for 3 different fragrances. And I'm like, cool. So, I mean, she got 3 different fragrances just because she asked for it. It didn't cost her any more money than the regular price. So I'm like, I don't understand. I mean, I just put it out there, like, if you want it, let me know and I'll make it. So yeah, I enjoy that.
And sound like you learned something from what you make, to like the one that you made for the young ladies. You said that was one of your favorite fragrances that you made. You probably would not have. You probably would not have thought about that, but
no, that soap had 10 fragrances in it to get it to that smell. It has 10 different fragrances, 10 different scents in there to get that smell. And I never would have come up with that on my own just because I felt like doing it that day, But that inspired me to make that scent. That's probably the most complex scent I've ever made, and it's nice.
Well, hey, Molly, don't stop doing what you're doing, because when I come up to Hilo Coffee Mill and I come around that corner, we can smell I can smell your soaps when I hit that corner after they take my temperature and make me sanitize my hands. Although they have tons of baked goods up there, but your fragrances, they do stand out up there. And they do have some good bakers up there too, y'all.
Oh man, no bakers up there. Dennis from Dulce Cafe or whatever his company is makes the best pastries like in the state, I think. I just have to put that out there.
Well, I hadn't had anything from him till this week.
Oh, you?
Yeah, I got his. What were you saying? Oh yeah.
He's awesome.
Well, I think I got cinnamon rolls from him. Well, hey, Molly, I want you to keep doing what you're doing. Ladies and gentlemen in my listening audience, you have been listening to Miss Molly O'Quinn. She is the founder of Yawning Lion Soap. And she said that the name came from her being a Leo and being a little lazy, which obviously she is not lazy. She is here on the Big Island of Hawaii. I have used her soap. I love it. And she will custom make fragrances for you. And you can't get that from Bath and Body Works or any of these other soap companies. From them you get what you get, and you can't pitch a fit. And she said she's got a book coming out, so we're gonna be waiting for that. But ladies and
I'm halfway done.
Okay, we're gonna be waiting on it. You're gonna have to email me and let me know when you get it, or call me, because got to make sure we put it out there on the show. But ladies and gentlemen, Molly, I want to thank you. And David keeps messaging me, so I guess I better hush. Everyone, I want y'all to have a wonderful, wonderful Christmas, New Year's, I'll be back in the studio early next year. And hey, keep listening to All About STEM Radio on Fishbowl Radio Network from Globe Life Park, Arlington, every Monday from 7 to 8 p.m. Central Time. And I want to say bye-bye.